You bring the jury. Good, thank you. Floor lady, how's the jury?
They're doing okay.
Very good. Your next witness.
Your Honor, John Murdaugh.
You place your left hand on the Bible and raise your right. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Go have a hand.
Murdaugh, M-U-R-D-A-H.
Where you from? What do you do?
Yes, sir. So I was born in, grew up in Hampton schools, first grade through school, graduated Wade Hampton, went to South Carolina, got a degree in criminal justice, and I'm now self-employed. I've opened some companies in the heavy equipment business.
What's the name? What's the name of your company?
Well, the main company is Murdaugh Rental Center, but I've got Murdaugh Kubota, Murdaugh Equipment LLC. So generally speaking, I'm in the construction equipment, agricultural tractors. I'm in the equipment business.
And do you have offices? Locations, multiple locations?
I have two, one in Hampton and one in Okatee, Bluffton area.
All right. Are you related to the defendant, Richard Alexander Murdaugh?
I am. I'm his brother.
Do you have any other brothers?
I do. Randy Murdaugh is my brother.
And do you have a sister?
I do. Lynn.
All right.
Both are here.
And and your parents are whom?
Randolph and Libby Murdaugh.
Okay. Are you the only son of the three that didn't go to law school?
I am, and I'm quite proud of it.
Tell the jury generally about the Murdaugh family, your family in this area.
Well, I mean, obviously, we're probably like most families, or a lot of families, we're very close to siblings. We do days together. We try to interact and keep your family together. We're just a normal family doing family things.
Right. Your parents, and we've heard about Father Randolph Murdaugh, who died on June the 10th. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And then there's Miss Libby.
She is.
And she's still alive, correct?
They were
Um,
kids.
The in the spring of 2021, were they both alive? Was your dad alive?
Yes, sir.
And what was his health in the spring of 2021?
He had been, sir, in cancer. I use that term loosely, both forms of cancer, but he had been cancer, had health issues, been through overall his health was not good. You know, in and out of hospital, just his age and the disease is catching up to him.
And would you check in on your mom? Any chance you?
I would. I didn't tell you, I don't live in Hampton. I live with my wife. We live out in Beaufort, or just outside. And so my drive is about to do it. I didn't visit as often as Randy and Ella because of them. Absolutely. Anytime I had the opportunity to work in Hampton at my house, I would always take time to stop by. And then sometimes, you know, just wanted to go see my mom.
The and seen for so your brothers who live in Hampton to stop by and check on them routinely.
Oh, absolutely. You know, I don't know every time they went because I wasn't there, but I feel confident that they visited more just because of the proximity. It's just an easier visit.
So well, let's talk about proximity. Your brother Ray,
He lives in Hampton,
and then your sister Lynn, where does she live?
Somerville.
Okay.
Uh,
2021.
In spring of 21, he was living at all of them were.
Okay. And those all close, where,
Well, it's further than mine.
your house, I'm saying Alameda town, or
I think that's
where that's located?
it was just east of Varnville, maybe 2 or 3 miles outside of the town limits.
Is it basically at the intersection of, I don't know, what
278 and Highway 68. One goes to Ridgeland, one goes to Tennessee.
okay. And would Alec visit your mom and dad frequently in the spring of 2021, to your knowledge?
Oh, absolutely.
And we'll get to more of that. Talk about Paul. Paul.
Excuse me, I'm oh, we have very special, but and I'll do my best to answer any questions.
What did he have a nickname?
He did. He called him the Rooster.
And did he call him anything else?
Well, I mean, he'd been called Little Rooster, had been called, as you heard, Paul. That's what my family, my kids called him.
What did you call him?
Well, it depends on where we were and what we were doing. When we were doing something fun at an event, I would Paul. You haven't heard this yet, but he worked for me. So when he worked for me, it was Paul, or it was Paul Terry, because I was trying to be, you know, a little more authoritative.
Right. Who else called him Paw Paw?
All family. I mean, it's not a name that was said, but when we're having fun, kids would say it. My wife would say it. It was just a name that was used in fun times and home times.
You mentioned Paul worked for you. When did he work for you?
You know, that's I thought you were asked. Fortunately, I don't know. He's worked for me maybe prior to June of 21. He was working, or he was working then. I think he worked the 2 summers prior to that.
And
work. I mean, it would only last a month or so, month and a half.
was he working for you in June of 2021?
He was.
And what was he doing?
Anything I asked him to do.
And where was he working?
He was working at my Bluffton Okeechobee. He would do anything from power wash equipment or deliver new that were being sold. Customers load and unload equipment. You heard someone testify that whatever was asked.
Was he on the full time or did he actually work?
He was not.
Was he a good worker?
He was
Did you spend time with Paul? Let me back up. Do you have a place where you hunt? You operate?
I
Do you have a name for that property?
we call it.
And would Paul and Buster come out to Greenfield to hunt?
Absolutely.
Let me just back up. What was the relationship between Alec, Paul, and Buster?
Oh, it was a great relationship. The boys always covered him. And some of y'all may have been on dove hunts before, but we would have I have a very small field, and I've got 10 stands in the field, and I have for the hunt I have it organized where I know who's sitting there. Like he says, well, can the boys come? Well, they can come. So now I've rearranged that. Or they said they come and the boys backed out. Alec always backed out. I was thinking, to this day, I don't believe ever come hunting with me since his boys have been old enough to hunt without his boys. It's always with the boys.
Did he do other things with
Sporting events, football games, baseball games.
Was he close sons?
Close.
Right. And how about Maggie? What did you observe of his relationship with Maggie?
It was a great relationship. All marriages have hiccups. It was a good marriage. In coming here, I was trying to think of ways to describe it. My wife and I and Alec and Maggie, we went to a concert together, the Darius Rucker concert. And of course, we're sitting, Alec and Maggie are sitting below us. And I had just been 15 years, and I was back in my seat. Songs playing, and Alec and Maggie this way in there. She was like, "Why aren't you playing?" And so my $15 beer got down. They had a great relationship. I mean, that's just one of many. At fall games, they would put out a tailgate spread. They would welcome the kids, family, friends. It was wonderful.
And did they do a lot of family things together with Paul and Buster and Paul and Buster's friends?
Yes, and, I knew of trips that they would take, family, vacations. They had a house that I've heard about, and would have, they would always have friends come, particularly the boys' friends.
There's been discussion during this trial, Paul leaving guns around. Did you ever experience that?
I did.
And tell me a little bit about your experience.
Well, I've heard the testimony about it, and it's accurate. I mean, I could 100 stories, but he was notorious. He would come with us at our house. He would leave, would have all of his washed, and he just left and didn't care about where his clothes were. In fact, Paul came duck hunting with me one time at Greenfield, and I smile fondly on this. Think back on all this. hunt. I think there were 3 of us in the blind. Picked up all the decoys, and we go back up and have a nice breakfast. Doing all the post hunt, all the fun things that you do. Well, I went back hunting. I don't know, it was probably a week and a half. Hunting gear still. I mean, I had like small.
You ride your property down at Greenfield,
I do.
and have you
But
ridden,
riding in what?
like checking on the property?
Oh, you mean like riding, joy riding, or checking feeders, or?
Right.
Yes, sir. Yes.
And do you carry a gun in that? You ride property like your dad's place. I mean, is that
Right.
a
Well,
frequent occurrence?
I would say never when I rode the property with my dad. It
I'm carrying.
almost never would carry a gun. It was just, well, late in the afternoon, and we were considering maybe getting in a deer stand, at the last minute, possibly. But typically, my dad and us, we didn't carry a gun then.
Speaking of your dad, you recall I was going with his help the weekend, the Saturday, Sunday, before June the 7th, so I guess would start, Friday would be the 4th, Saturday would be the 5th, Sunday would be the 6th.
Right. So he was actually in the hospital, I believe, in Columbia that weekend. And I think he got out of the hospital on Sunday.
Did you pick him up?
Not. I did not. I may have been out of town. I can't recall. I heard about it. I did not pick him up.
Did you end up taking your father to the doctor on that Monday, June the 7th?
I did.
Where did you take him?
I took.
And
what I would do, I think it was maybe go for some different things or another. I'm not sure.
And was he having some breathing issues?
He was having major breathing issues.
And when you went on Monday, June the 7th, was there a decision made to admit him to the hospital?
It was. So when I took him, we were only going to a doctor's appointment. We were going to hospital. It was just me taking him to a doctor's appointment to try to find out what the breathing issues were, maybe some type of a treatment or something to help him. While we were there, as soon as the doctor saw him, but when the doctor saw him and Bruce he told both they had to be in the hospital, that he was getting the oxygen that he.
Monday? Did you understand the prognosis when he put back Monday the 8th? I mean,
Oh, Monday, yeah. That he would see had some really strong beliefs that the cancer that he had was not caused by breathing obstruction. Very likely could be pneumonia. And if the cancer, that's the word, but it just
was
oh,
June the 7th?
absolutely. When he told me that, I mean, he said he had to go into hospital. Obviously, when a doctor tells you have to check in. But yes, him explaining that he was optimistic it was going to be pneumonia, there would be a treatment to help it. I felt pretty good.
But did you and your brother send out emails? I mean, text messages to members, giving them an update.
That was
And update the doctor.
yes. by the doctor, what I believe to be. I think and he typed up just to make everybody.
And-
I'm sorry.
And did the diagnosis and the prognosis change?
Well,
Yeah.
it did.
When was that?
Tuesday afternoon, we're back out at Alameda. I'm sorry. I mean, all this stuff, you can imagine, it's just so much. He called me and told me everything that they could do, and that he'd be coming home to an ambulance.
And he died on the 10th?
He died.
Thank you. Going back to taking your dad to the doctor and then checking the hospitals, vehicles switched around a little bit, and we get to, you know, that. Can you explain, Jury, how all that transportation went to get to your dad to the hospital? Well, doctor.
You talking about on that Monday for me
Yeah,
to get
yes,
him?
on- yeah.
I'll explain it. So, Monday morning, at the hospital, Sunday, got outside, didn't need to see a regular doctor, did not have an appointment. And so, when everything could, he came in early as he could on that Monday. Just asked me if I could get an appointment. Can you take it? We'd like to. A while later, or two, it was morning. He calls me and says, okay, they have an opening for him, but he has to get away. So Hampton is, what, an hour and a half from Savannah, hour and I don't know. He said, I don't have to drive about halfway. It's not, you just can't go back and get so we Richland, Randy got up and drove back to Alameda where Randy had my dad. So Randy trucks back to dad's house. I had to go through what about the doctor's appointment and check. Back then there was restricted. They wouldn't let me go with my dad at that time. So I was driving home. So I know Paul was working, and it was around 5 or so, and when we closed, Paul and said, Paul, I need you to, if you would, bring it to work the next morning, and just leave he was driving a farm truck that day. I said, leave it, and I'll drive it, and we'll just swap back next morning. And so that's how our cars got swapped.
All right, so when you got back on the evening of the Saturday,
Oh, I did.
and he your mom's
In my car, drove it to Alameda, and got in my truck, and drove it to.
okay. So the farm truck, your house, do you, farm truck was
The shop.
Jimmy Butler?
It was a shop in front of me.
Was as normal as you see every was
It was like kids in the yard been doing back there. But it's in the yard. In the fall.
I mean, so
That is the time I saw him.
did you learn that, and how did you learn that he and Paul were murdered on the 9th of June?
Well, Elliot called me, and Liz, we have 3 young kids. I mean, the youngest is 8, so it would have been 6 at the time, and so we don't have a lot of free ourselves. But that night we were watching television.
Let me back up. Hey, the night when he was on his way to
Oh yes, sir.
his mom's,
Yes, sir.
and that we got phone records of that. What do you recall of that conversation?
He called. About things look good, you know. Brief conversation. And I kind of
What was the demeanor when you spoke to him?
always
And later on that night, you got another phone call from him?
and I got when you asked the question, yes, it called me and just as soon as I heard something bad was going on, didn't know what, and you know, and I'm in Bahamas. He said, you know, something. I don't know what his exact word, but he said, "Had been hurt really bad. Here as fast as you can." You know, what I'm doing, I'm not going to go get fast. I'm hurrying. There's so many things going through you don't know what to do. So I get around. I don't have a car. Paul's car out there and hunk of junk. And I mean, you know,
This was the farm truck.
this was farm. I knew I couldn't take my wife's car. She was taking it to school. You know, I knew. I just didn't know how bad it
Did you then get in the head to Moselle?
was. I did.
Along the way?
Andy, he asked me to try to get with a close family friend and one of their law partners, Danny Hilton. I was just him, I'm driving fast, I'm just trying to get. And you know, once I got in and told him that he needed to get up, just a few minutes myself. And somebody shortly after, I don't remember, but it was either Eric or Randy, I believe, and they said they were pulled over.
Did the farm truck break down
It did.
getting to Moselle?
Well, let me back up, and so the route that my house down in Oak Beaufort takes me to Statue, get on 95 to go to Yemeni and off and coming up that way. Well, another close family, his name is Greg Alexander. He is chief of police in Yemeni. I reach out to him and I just say, Greg, I gave him, said, again, I don't know when I was told about the shoots, but I told him, I said, listen, something bad's happened. We got to get up there. When I get to Yemeni, can you please help me if I get to Moselle? Because the truck's sputtering, and I knew it wasn't good. And he met me in Mississippi, and he fell in behind me, and we started driving until he found me in Mill.
He ended up driving you the rest of the way?
Well, he did. So he passed me shortly before Varnville. He took a right 63, and he was a little ways ahead of me when the truck quit on me. And I said, Greg, come back and
Were there any guns in the farm truck that Paul had left when you got in?
no idea. It was dark when I got it. friendly.
In it? Did he?
That night, never. I mean, I wouldn't look. See, I wouldn't worry anything.
You remember about the time you got to Moselle? What time was it, roughly? Or better yet, who was there when you got there?
Well, there were well before I got to Moselle, you could see the flashing. It was there were tons of people. Mostly what I would describe as first responders of some sort.
Go.
So we came and created I guess, and when we pulled up, oh well, I think before Greg even saw, I jumped out and ran to him.
And what was his condition?
Oh, it was broken. I mean, destroyed. Everybody. There were a few other people there, but he just all we did was cried. I mean, we didn't know we talked.
How long did you stay down at the crime scene? You recall?
You know, I have to assume that I probably was there at 11 o'clock. I don't know what time we got there, but I don't went back up to the house well after midnight, maybe 2, 3.
And when you went to the house, do you recall any SLED agents came up?
Well, not seeing any split in the house. Officers, the ones that we needed to leave that area, didn't leave stuff in bodies.
You went into the house. Were there other people there?
You know, Randy's partner, family members, Lynn.
Was there food or had food? What, had anything? What did
Well,
you
I saw pots and pans, and I saw folks that were cleaning up. They were moving pots and pans, but you know, I never opened it and looked in it. I presume it was food. Dishes, pots and pans away or in the refrigerator.
was TV on in the house? Do you remember?
You know, I would say it is. It was on, but I'd be on the best.
You said based on what you know.
Well, I don't think without the TV being on, if Alec and Maggie were there.
Well, did you ultimately go to Almeida that evening with Alec, Buster, and his girlfriend Brooklyn?
We did.
Do you remember what Alec was wearing when he went to Almeida?
I mean, I can't. Shorts and a T-shirt. I can't tell you. But it was shorts and a T-shirt. You know, like.
You know whether he was in the shower or not?
Here, I mean, it's yeah. Didn't see him in the shower. Yeah, I think he got a shower.
Then let's move forward to the morning of the June 8th. I guess, did you get any night of June the 7th?
Very little. I fell asleep. In the bed. It's just, as you I don't know if I slept. When I got up moving the next day, I certainly didn't feel like.
What did you do the next day when you got up?
You talk about precisely or
Just generally.
I got up and I was up. I think Western Buxton, where I told El over to Greenfield, my farm that I told him about, is 2 miles away, so it's very close. All plenty of clothes over there. I told him I was going over there to clothes.
Go to Murdaugh.
I did after I left Greenfield. Yes, sir.
Do you remember who was there when you got to Murdaugh?
I was the first one there.
And what did you do?
I just went. I knew Buster, Brooklyn, Alec were coming. I suspected that other members and I just kind of, just, you know, in belief still. It's just, you know, moments of. You know, that's a good question. I don't remember. Unlocked or there's a keypad on a side door, but I can't tell you which door I went in. I don't know.
Yeah. Did you eventually go down to the kennels?
I did. You know, once everyone just a fair amount of activity in the house, family, and law partners, law partners. You know, I needed to go down. I needed to see for myself what had gone on, and just kind of take it in. I mean, just maybe for some type of understanding.
How long did you stay down at the kennels?
Well, yeah, I don't know. Well, I was allowed to go because I knew it was a crime scene, and so I reached out to a friend of mine in law enforcement, and said, "Listen, I don't know who's had crime. I don't know whatever." He said, "Well, I'll find out and make sure that it's clear for you to go." He said, "Don't go until I tell you." And he called me back a few minutes later and said he had spoken to I believe it was Captain Ryan, and had given the okay. The thing was released, and it was okay to go there.
And was it cleaned up?
No, it was cleaned up. Yeah. So this is really difficult. So I could easily see where Maggie had been. You know, I saw the night before where the sheep were. Somebody told me that, so I could see where Maggie had been, and it was grass, and you know, there really was nothing to see where Maggie was. I walked to the room. Y'all have heard the description. Y'all saw it. I've never, and I've told them before I come to this court that I was not going to see pictures. What I experienced, I saw blood, burning, I saw, and it could just be, I don't know what. And for some, I thought it was something that I needed to do for Paul to clean it up. I felt like it was the right thing to do. I felt like I owed him, and I started cleaning. No father or uncle should ever have to see and do what I did. I don't know. I'm not blaming anybody, but it's just, I was just overwhelmed. I did everything I could, and I would have moments where I was crying for a moment, and just in disbelief. At one point, I called my brother Randy and told him what I was doing, trying to describe what I was doing, and he immediately told me to stop doing it. It was not good for me. It was not healthy for me to be there. And I couldn't stop. I had to go to the ball. That's just what I had to do. probably 15, 20 minutes later, Mark Ball shows up. Y'all heard Mark Ball testify. And he came and hugged me and told me it was okay to leave. After fall, they went up. It's the hardest thing I've ever been through in my life.
Yes, sir. What do you do next?
You know, basically got me. Sure, sure I was just in case. We got back to the house and family, you know, got back to, you know, support of others that were there. And you know, there were a lot of people in the house at that point.
Do you ever got back to the house at some point in time? People raising questions or bringing up the fact that Maggie's phone had not been located.
Yeah, so that were, you know, particularly being lawyers, they were questioning themselves and, you know, just trying to figure things out. But it was brought to my attention that Maggie's phone was not there, and that law enforcement had not found it. And I can't say that. In fact, I can probably say that I didn't think of it because I'm not a big phone user or a big app user or whatnot. But somebody brought to my attention and said, listen, if Buster or Alec, if they have an app on their phone, like Find My Phone or Find My Friends or an app like that, they said you very likely can find out this if the battery's not dead. Buster, and sure enough, I said, Buster, do you have this one of these apps like they're talking about? And he said, yeah, sure I do. I said, well, open it up. He opened up and he handed me the phone, and I see Maggie's name, and I press it, where, you know, activate it, and it became my phone just out front of the property. And I was like, I hate to say it, but I said, holy shit, there it is. And I said, Buster, I'm taking your phone. I'm going to go back down to the shed and show it to law enforcement.
And who did you approach first about the phone?
Well, I don't know who it was. It was sled agent. Because keep in mind, this guy was. I mean, there were a couple of faces that I'd seen before, but I don't know these guys. I've come to know them, but I don't know them or didn't know them then. So I went up to the sled agent or two sled agents and said, presumably sled agents, and said, hey, I've got Buster's phone here, and it's got an outlet down the phone, and it shows the phone's right out there. Y'all want to let us go get it? And no, we have knowledge later today that we should be able to find it. And it blew me away that I'm sitting here showing them where Maggie's phone is, but they won't take the time to walk with me or take this phone itself. I mean, I'd get the phone to go find it. So I walk up to Buffy Stone. He was a solicitor. I knew one of his investigators. Walked over to them, said the exact thing, and they immediately said, absolutely, let's go this before the battery goes dead. But we started walking down the back entrance, if you will, and at the time the agent was holding the phone, and it creates a dot or location, and not from right at the end of that road, down, I don't know, maybe a mile, 3/4 of a mile, got into a road down where it was we found it in
Remember how it was collected? Were you present when it was collected?
I was. So I was on the cow pasture on one side and this other side. I was on the side, the cow pasture zone, if you will. And I heard him say, I got it. And so, of course, I walked back beside the car, and I'm good from it, but I see him over there. And I think he took either some ribbon or some flagging tape and marked the phone. And I don't think he touched it. I think he left it right where it was, called SLED. At that time, maybe they had been communicating, but SLED had blocked off the road at this point, and one of the agents came up and picked the phone up. And I don't gauge it, and I didn't know him.
Did any law enforcement officer ask you if you knew the password? Yes.
So once they and I'll say this, so they did of it while it was on the ground before they touched it. They picked it up. I think they picked it up, brought it back to the trunk of the car, and put it up in power zone. And they then asked, what's the password? And of course, I didn't know it.
Did you find the password?
I did. I called Alec, and he gave me the password. I repeated it to the agent. They put the password in and said, "Is open."
So Alec provided you the password that you passed to the agents, and it opened the phone? Is that
Yes, sir. That's correct.
John Marvin, were you aware of a news release that was issued that morning, Tuesday, June 8th, that the public had no need to be alarmed or concerned for their safety?
Yes, sir.
Well, what was your reaction to that?
I mean, it's quite a thing. It's just two people have been killed, and they're telling me that everybody's safe. That tells me that whoever's done this is in jail, and they are 100% positive. And because if they're not in jail, nobody's safe.
Right. Did you go back to the residence at Moselle after finding the phone? Did you go back up to the house?
Yes, sir, I did.
And did SLED agents come through and were present?
They did. I don't know how long I'd been back up there, but they came and we kind of talked in the playroom, or I think some have described it as the gun room. Yeah, they talked about they needed to come in the house and search for things.
And did you escort, I think it was McAllister, throughout the house?
Yes, Katie McAllister.
And did she tell you what she was looking for?
Well, initially she said, well, the way she presented it was people in the house. She said, listen, I'll just go barging in and make everybody run out of the house, but I'll take my badge off, my gun off, and if you would, just walk through each room. And, particularly I'm looking for 12-gauge shotgun guns and 300 blackout and the ammunition calibers.
And as you're walking through the house there, did she was looking for guns?
Well, yeah, I mean, because she didn't face it fit, so it makes sense to be looking for something else. Well, I don't know.
I understand, but you said space. Did you look in the
bathrooms? I opened up into upstairs area. A couple of them are pretty small. That she can find ammunition. I'm going to get a gun in there. Every house, every single room.
Did you observe looking at the toilets?
So one is like the shower. It's not an open shower. She easily could have known there was a gun. She opened it, but it was not.
The and was mostly in the gun room, to your knowledge, when you were over there.
Well, when I went through the house, we identified. I remember one in particular that was in the bedroom, shotgun. I picked it up and we looked at it. It was a game. She said no, but that was back. So I put it back. So all the guns were in the room or room.
Sort of briefly. You hunt with Alec over the years,
I have.
and did he have a go-to gun, to your knowledge, he would use?
Not to my knowledge.
When was the last time you ever seen him hunt with a 12 gauge?
He bird hunt. He shoot a 28. It was the time. Please don't ask me when, but I would say it was a few years prior to this that we were turkey hunting on another piece of property down on the Savannah River, and I know he was hunting with a 12 gauge, but I don't know if it's his gun or somebody else's.
Did that have a sticker?
It did. And
You remember what the sticker said?
no, I don't remember what the sticker said, but I do remember as an elk that when you're turkey, you don't want to be seen, and big sticker on the side of the is kind of to a turkey.
Somewhat of a liaison person said in the family.
I don't know that I'd call it a liaison or point person, but I absolutely, I had become to know David Owens, and I absolutely told David, I said, listen, if you need anything from me or anybody, and you can't get in touch with them, you reach out to me. I will either see to it that they call you back, I'll see to it that you get the answers that you're looking for, or I will put you in touch with them you're trying to reach. So I did make myself available.
And Alec to law enforcement searching where he wished.
So he did, in fact, before I was, but yes, anything they needed, anytime they needed it.
And you provide consent to search the house the afternoon on the 8th. Did you?
I did. I consented every arrest.
You asked to provide consent or to obtain consent for any law enforcement to search your mom's house where Alec had been the night before. Did any law enforcement ask you to consent or obtain consent so that law enforcement could search Almeda on the 8th because Alec had been there the night before?
Right.
Did anyone ask you, hey, can we go search Almeda?
No one asked anything.
Would you obtain consent for law enforcement?
I would have given consent, and I would have taken notes like I did at Ellis. I would have helped facilitate the search that showed.
Did you remember law enforcement sled agents coming to your Greenfield property on June 10th?
Yes, sir.
And
They coordinated with Alec or Randy. I'm not sure who. Yes, the understanding is they were coming to you, me, Randy, Alec, Buster. I think that's it. But they will do interviews with all of us.
everyone congregated here at Greenfield.
We were at Green. Of course, that's where we're staying there because of all this, and so it keeps me close to Hampton. So, yes, we all congregated there.
Agents come inside and sit down and talk with each other. How did that work?
Yes, sir, I offered them. I said, come in, offer drink water, whatever. Be polite. And they said, no, we
play this, but have you been in the courtroom and you've heard this audio tape of Alec being interviewed on that June the 10th, where he is states something either him so bad or they did it? Have you heard that?
I have.
And you know his voice?
I know his voice very well.
He's saying on that tape.
They did him so bad. I mean,
Heard him say that before his interview that day.
you know, I think I heard him say it the night of or the day after. I heard him say it many times after.
Well before the trial started or anything.
Well before any of this, that's right. When he was in living with us, or between my brother and us.
After Paul on that night of June 7th, were you or any members with Alec, most part, for that week and the week after that?
The days off, I made a conscious effort to them. It was for me. It was 1,000%. I knew as a brother I needed to be there for him, and I was. You know, of course, I didn't sleep with him, but when we were awake, he was. You know, I may not be standing beside him, but we would be in the room together. Or if we needed to go to the gas station, if he wanted dip, I'd ride with him. It just I just thought that's what I needed to do.
What was his demeanor in the immediate aftermath of these murders?
Oh, Jimmy, night or day,
The day,
like I just said, when you can use words that he was destroyed. I heard somebody say he was broken. You can use any word you want to use to describe, but I can promise you, words won't do it justice. I would have to create a new word to describe how old he was. It's terrible.
And did carry it forward all through the summer? Did he coping afterwards, say later June and July and going forward?
You know, it's hard to tell. At times I thought he was doing okay. Other times it would just be sheer grief. I mean, just uncontrollably crying. You know, of course, it makes me cry. You can tell I'm pretty. We would cry together. There's no answers, and there's nothing I could say to make it better other than just hug.
Did you start
Oh yes, sir. Absolutely.
eating, sleeping?
He was pretty.
Right.
And he, good bit of it. I don't know, it became very obvious in a
Going back on the evening 7th, early morning hours, did folks who were there at Alameda raise questions about perhaps the Maggie and Paul were somehow associated with the
You mean at Moselle?
Yeah, the Moselle. Going to on the evening of June 7th and 8th, did folks raise issues or associated with the motive murder to be related to voting in some form?
Well, I heard it that night. I heard it at Moselle, and I heard it. Well, Alexander mentioned it. You know, once I got to the chaotic part of describing why he get to Moselle, he asked me he's driving in front of me, and he asked me, "Do you related to the boat accident?" Of course, Greg, I don't know about what's happened.
You were aware of the boating accident and Paul's charges, weren't you aware? And was there a community over that?
It was a lot of backlash. I would not say quite as much in the community, but is on social media, and media inflamed rumors is the way I would describe it.
Right.
That it totally blown out of proportion, and downplay the accident, but what they were saying about the stuff about Paul and Alec, it was just totally inflamed.
Okay.
And you asked about the boating accident. So I told y'all that I called Michael Paul, my friend, to make sure I could go to the crime scene the next morning. Well, Michael Paul is one of my best friend. I called him that night while we were still down at the crime scene, not because he's in law enforcement, not because of anything, because he's my friend. And I actually told him, and I said, MP is what I said. MP, I don't even know why I called. I just needed to talk to somebody. And he walked in, cried a little bit after. He didn't know what had happened, so I told him. And I cried, and you could tell he was upset. In that conversation, he asked me also, do you think it be related to the boating accident?
Switching gears a little bit, John Marvin, when talk to you about visiting at your mom's house, mom and dad's house. There's where do you routinely park, or where do you park sometimes when going over to your mom and dad's house?
Me, you park?
You and others, in the family.
Well, there's places. Who's there? Whether there's other cars there, you can either park at what you call the carport, and there's a big dirt area beside it. You can park there up to the side door, or you can pull around to the park there. We all use both spots.
I'm going to pull up and look at it on.
As a matter of fact, I went there yesterday. I pulled right into the back of the house, but I didn't turn around. I circled the house. So there's.
So I'm going to pull up Exhibit 524. It's an evidence, Doug, and go to slide 38. And this is the PS. And Doug, if you pull up around the house, please, sir. Thank you. This is your mom's house, and this is GPS data from South. You see that the red there?
Yes, pretty blurry on my screen. I don't know about y'all.
You want a little bit, Doug?
Well, yes, they're still blurry. You can see.
Where is that in relation to your mom's house?
You talking about the right there where the arrow pointed?
Yes, sir.
It's the house.
Okay.
That was exactly where I parked yesterday.
All right. And if you pull up, Doug, Exhibit 136. And this will be Defendant's Exhibit 136. Is that the what you saw on the red?
Yes. Generally speaking, it's a wide open area, so when you pull up, you're not like pulling into the exact same speed time or you're it's just a grassy area. You go up to the door right there at the back of the house.
And why?
When my was alive, room there with a he was there. Literally was his
Just, so if you pull up this 135.
So every in the back of it. It's a large home, and they just, as old as they are, well, my mom didn't get out of bed, but as old as
I'm sorry. 131. Fence 1, please. For the same area, different direction. Now, we see in the background past the tree.
that was my house, or what we would call it.
And how far is that from the house?
I did 80 yards.
That's and is it open there? I mean, from the photo, is that
Absolutely.
I want to go to Labor Day weekend. Where were you that week? Remember?
Labor Day weekend 20. Okay, yeah. So on Saturday.
Did you Labor Day 2021? Were you aware as to whether or not I had a?
No, sir.
Did you transport driving from the hospital in Savannah to a facility in Atlanta? That
I believe it would have been Randy was driving. I was in. Yes, sir. We did take.
and the facility located.
Just outside of Atlanta.
And what was can you tell the jury like
I didn't think anything like it. I've seen shows of talking about language and determinants, if you will, and that's the first thing he was sweat. He was thrashing him.
did you turn around and see what was he doing?
Yeah, so maybe halfway there, at one point, he'd taken his seat off, where he would be in the seat, his legs and cups, just like thrashing and kicking. It's just, again, I've never seen something like this in real life.
And was he able to control himself?
I said about he had diarrhea. Couldn't control it.
And then
And I say diarrhea, I'm not talking about bathroom, I'm talking about in the car in his pants.
and some time in facility in Atlanta. Other go pick him up, take him to another facility in Orlando, Florida.
Yes, sir, we did. Did.
Anything happened that stands?
So that drive, he was much different. He was more subdued. He was not the thrashing, not the twitching, not the jerkiness, if you will. I don't know the words that used for that, but that's what I'm saying. The only thing that really stood out for me is he slept time, but he woke up from sleeping, and when he woke up, I mean, he jerked forward and you could tell that, I mean, sheer, it just woke up, horrible dream. I believe it was a dream about what Alan would talk to Maggie.
Further, and sometime in September, SLED actually come and search the house at Alameda?
Sir.
Okay, and did inform as to what items were seized during that search?
I was informed of seized.
And what item was that?
It was just coat. Well, they didn't tell me what kind.
Okay, and what the coat was found?
Yes, sir. So I was searching the house now. Talking to somebody else, not sure. Not sure. David Owens, came up to me and said, "We found it back on the property. Do you know anything about it?" And I said, "Well, David, if you found it back on the property," I said, "It's a large piece, some acre." I said, "My dad hides this kubota outside. It's probably his." And I said, "And if you show it to me, I can try to identify it." And of course, he said, or wouldn't show it what it was.
Were you sometime later you a photo of a raincoat?
I was. You a raincoat.
The blue raincoat informed where it was seized from.
Well, just go view and been recovered. He said, "We want you to view a coat that had been recovered out of a closet."
And was that different from what you believe when you
Absolutely.
had providing anybody an explanation about why you were given different locations?
To this day, no.
Photo that showed you, had you ever seen that before?
No, sir.
Blue raincoat that
It certainly looks like a picture. I didn't see the coat itself, but it looked to be similar or the same.
you ever seen it before?
No, sir.
Did you realize what closet it came out of when from photos during this trial?
Well, I saw all that. And kind of what closet they were.
Did you go up on the first stairs before you go at the landing right there? What kept that?
Clothing, not everyday clothing. Clothing is more storage. It's not a, first of all, couldn't.
There's some testimony that there's GSR on that raincoat. Got any idea how there could be GSR on clothing in your dad's closet?
Sustained.
Did you carry guns with him?
No, not in the sense that you're saying. He was not like Paul that always had guns with him. He would keep a gun if he went dove hunting, for example. and he went on one dove. That gun made me ride him for 2 months. He just would stay. He just would. Same with golf clubs. He would play golf. He just a bunch of junk in his truck.
Was there normally guns?
Hunting season, I would get there.
And did he
In
have?
fact, hunting season, because he always loved on a bird hunt.
Did he have a specific gun frequently?
Oh, he had one gun.
And
It did. It was called Bo Whoop.
and did he get off?
I've never seen him clean it. He even 1957 was high school graduation, and he for every game that he chased. But I'm sure it got cleaned somewhere along the way, but I'd never seen him clean it. And I still haven't seen him clean it.
Got it.
I don't know if things still work.
Along the way, have you been receiving updates from SLED on their investigation in the Maggie and Paul's murder?
Usually when I would call and ask for updates, and he would provide updates. It almost always seemed like there was stuff that he really, I don't know, I don't know, or just never see at the time. I'm not sure. But yeah, I think he would try to, update as best as possible.
And would you provide information on the evidence they had against your brother?
I have been, sir.
Some
of it.
And some of the information that you turned out not to be information. What type of information?
Teacher that he was wearing. And I'll back up and tell you how I got into this conversation. So I'm having a meeting.
All right. Hear this objection again. Just a moment, sir. Mr. Conrad responds to Mr. Griffin.
Your Honor, I think his argument was it's an admission by a party opponent, and I don't think we're talking about
Party.
the subsection D2 referencing. It talks about admission by a party opponent, and it doesn't necessarily talk about the state. And I think what we're getting into bit on the sand. I don't think those are admissions to any issue of relevance in this case.
Mr. Griffin?
Your Honor, directly the statements relate to
Directly relevant. So, not based on relevant.
a statement on hearsay, under the definition of hearsay. Your Honor, it's I don't know, but
The state of South Carolina is a party opponent in
Yeah.
this case.
and SLED is the investigative agency. Sir, it was not apply in a normal case. I mean, it has to be the investigative agency. I'm not asking for Collin County statement. It's the
So you've got those newspapers, Calhoun County, all the Mr. Conrad, they testified to the
But he's trying to get evidence, and maybe we need to proffer it to see exactly what he would say. My question was that he was going to start talking about a report by Mr. Bevel, which we've talked about several times in this case, and I'd object to the relevance. And
you're asking. Or witness, yes.
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 Mr. Murdaugh, what information were you provided by the SLED agent that provided you the information?
Yes,
You were asking him about Agent Owens, it's still legislative. Yes.
And what information you provided that leading to turn out to be inaccurate?
right. Okay, Springfield.
Yes,
Yes, sir. What I was asking, I was saying, I wanted to back up to get to where I was getting this information. I'd been called to SLED, not headquarters, but their office in Walterboro to view the Blue Coat and to an audio. After my interview with them, Captain Ryan Neal, I believe we were in his office, is the one that, and I'm going to use my terminology here, but described the white T-shirt covered in blood, even went so far as to describe that took the bottom of it and wiped his face with it, and that's how they knew he was involved. That's how they knew he was there. And I don't know where the question goes.
your question, or are you trying to get more out of him?
That's it.
All right, objection.
I'd bring my objection to the relevant. Nothing has been put, this jury has evidence about anything on this team, and not offered any reports to suggest as such.
The objection is overruled. We're going to take 10 minutes.
Thank you.
Giving step. You bring the jury. All right, thank you. The objection is overruled.
Thank you, Mr. Murdaugh. When we broke, the question on the table was a conversation that you had with a SLED agent regarding some matter. Can you provide your answer?
Yeah. So, as I was about to say, what led me to the conversation was the SLED asked my sister and I to come over to identify or attempt to identify a coat and a recording. And we did that. And so I did my interview with them. And then after the interview, we went into Ryan Neal's, I think he's captain, but Ryan Neal's office at the same SLED office. And in that office, or in his office, we were all in there. They made reference to a shirt. They said electric. They told us that it was cut blood. They went as far as to tell me on the police body cam, he takes his shirt and I the scene. He
Marvin, what was Alex's relationship with Maggie and Paul's parents? Grandma and Papa T, as we've heard.
Grandma and Papa T, that's great. They had a great relationship. Off together. Just a good father-in-law, son-in-law relationship, and mother-in-law.
And have you?
They would travel together, vacation together with different places.
And have you stayed in contact with them as best you could?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We communicate.
And
now, Papa T has taken in the hill in his hometown now.
I was going.
Yeah, he's had a stroke and is basically home back, and Miss Kennedy stays at home and takes care of him. But they are wonderful people. Just go a little bit further. Wonderful of themselves. Their relationship was absolutely great.
I want to go back to June the 8th when you were down at the kennel cleaning up. Do you remember making a promise that morning?
Well, Jim, as I've told you all, loved him. I don't know. I just loved him and promised him that I'd find out who did it. It's just, you don't know what to do. It was tough.
And you would find out you did this.
I did.
You found out.
I,
All right. That's all the questions.
All right. Good afternoon, Mr. Murdaugh.
good afternoon.
I think you'd agree with me that no matter which way you cut it, your family suffered a great tragedy, hasn't it?
Absolutely. In the death of my dad, it's just,
Sorry, you and your family through this.
well, thank you.
All right. And I think you testified a little while ago about cooperation you and particularly your brother provided SLED. Is that correct? Yes.
Absolutely. And
Your brother was providing cooperation to SLED as well, correct?
everyone in my family was, yes, sir.
Okay. All right. And would you consider that cooperation full cooperation? Not only for yourself, but your brother? Would you have observed?
Yeah. And I'll
Your brother was providing the same cooperation as well, correct?
Yes, I believe anytime they asked to search something, anytime they asked to do something, they asked for information, it typically came to me, and yes, I would.
Okay, I'm asking about your brother right now, and you. But to your knowledge, did your brother provide cooperation? Or did he tell you he was providing cooperation?
Well, he didn't help. It appeared to be obvious him giving them.
So when did you first learn he was down at the kennels just before the murders? 2 days ago? With the
No. So I went into for an interview with SLED about the shirt, talked about the blood. All that was the reason being there was that. And kennel, and of course at that point, voice, and I knew that was him.
you knew that was him when you saw that video, correct? Listen to the video.
When I listened to it,
All right. And do you recall the date of that interview when you first listened to that video?
I do.
If I said it was August 12th, 2022?
I have no.
At least month 2022?
Again, I'm sure they have my interview recorded for that date, but
All right. August of 2022, that interview, when you heard your brother's voice, he told you that he was down there just prior to the murders.
no, sir.
Did he ever tell you that afterward? After you listened to that?
No, sir. And I'm trying to think if we've been able to.
That if he had not told SLED that was not full cooperation, correct? If he had told SLED that he was at the kennels just before the murders, he had not actually been fully cooperative.
What's your question?
Agree that that is not full cooperation.
I'm not telling that he was at the kennel.
Correct. All right, so I don't go through the whole kind of vehicle shit we talked about earlier. Let's just so what was Paul's normal daily driver? What vehicle did he drive on a daily basis?
On a normal basis, he drove a F-150. Platinum.
Okay.
Use you a little bit more.
Okay.
As I
So you testified that Paul's F-150 was at Butler's over the weekend.
That's correct.
And then Monday, there's a series of car swaps. I don't want to go through them, but at the end of the day, you end up in the F-250 farm truck, correct?
That's correct.
Ends up in your F-150 Platinum.
Ultimately, he see mom's car back to tell me to get.
I know there's several,
Sir, that's correct.
kind of talking at the end of the day. And he drove your F-150 back to, excuse me.
Yes, sir.
And You testified that you came over later that night after Alex did the murders, correct?
That's
Where was your truck parked when you got? We'll talk about how you got there in a minute, but where was Paul's truck?
well. And so when I got there, we didn't go anywhere near the house. I went straight to where everything was happening.
Okay.
When I was later that night, I saw the truck. So it was probably 4 in whatever time we were, 3 or 4 in the morning. It was parked in front of the house, normally where you would park cars.
So just kind of out straight out front.
That's correct.
And the keys that Paul had been using, do you recall where they left the truck, or have any notion of those keys might have ended up?
Well, they were sitting in the ignition. I mean, St. always leave them.
Okay.
Drove it to Alameda that night.
All right. And while you were in that F-250 farm truck, right?
For a short period of time.
And that, refresh my memory, is that white as well, or is that a different?
It's white as well, yes, sir.
And it's broke down on you on the way to Moselle, correct?
That is correct, on
And you
Highway
left-
63.
You left side of the road, correct? I think all Alexander at that point, or
Well, we were driving separate cars put together. So at the point in front of me, and I had to call him to tell him to turn around.
okay, and he came back and picked you up.
Came back and I jumped in his car,
You
or
left the
truck,
truck
or
there.
whatever. It was Suburban.
Sorry, I talk over you. My apologies. And you left empty.
I did.
All right. For Chief Alexander to the property.
That's correct.
Were you aware that your brother Alex had loaned Chief Alexander money at several points over the past couple of years?
I was,
And you testified that you learned of your brother's opioid addiction the weekend of Labor Day of 2021. Is that
when it started coming out.
that he had a opioid?
Prior to not.
Okay. So from your observations of him on a daily basis, he seemed to be sober at most times, or not under the influence of any. Did you ever observe him under the?
Well, keep in mind now, so again, law firm, I live in Beaufort, so I don't see him daily. But our encounters usually would be during non-work. But even I know he think he was on pills.
All right. He's able to function normally on a daily basis to your observations?
Yes, sir.
So let's start morning. You said that you were the first person to know. Is that understand?
That's correct.
And you're the first person inside the house. And do you call when
I can tell you is I was the first to come back in.
so she would have gotten there some point after?
Yes, sir.
That morning,
And I testimony that instead of going to Moselle, she went to Alameda.
But when she came to Zell,
Well, yeah, but well after me.
well, okay. I guess some folks call it the gun. When Slade came in and started looking at some of those guns in the gun, correct?
Right. Well, I was in the main part of the house.
Did you ever? Okay. I haven't dig it up, but camera. I think.
So I think probably what better is the house with Alec and family. Someone came and told me they wanted to look around, and of course I went to make sure that they had access.
When you were in there, do you recall who was with you other than the sled agent? Because there were several other people, correct?
Well, I don't recall if you without seeing the video. I saw the video. I saw Lee Cope. I saw the McAllister, but I don't think I would remember.
Okay. I think there's in there at a minimum, correct?
Friends and attorney. Friends, yeah, that's right.
Okay. Was Chris Wilson in there at that time?
No, I don't.
I mean, you could have like over to you, Buster, Randy, Alex, I guess that's 4, right? Is that all who were interviewed that day, to your recollection?
Randy, that's correct.
Okay. I think you testified that they didn't want that, which
I don't think they did not because of any big reason.
you know, all
And nature, drink water, things like that.
don't
They did not.
recall Lieutenant himself.
Inside the lodge, I do not.
All right. You or excuse me, would have been in 2021. And how that day.
I do recall slave.
Uh,
I can't tell you that's the date, but they
This-
certainly came.
This would have been if they interviewed both Buster and that day. Does that help you out?
It for them coming. It
Okay.
was Jeff, Agent Croft, and I believe Agent Ryan Kelly.
Okay. You sat into both those interviews with both Buster and your wife.
Well, I think the interview with one was an interview for Buster, one was an interview with my wife.
You,
That's the way I didn't think it was 3 interviews.
you recall the subject of the Blue Jacket with Buster.
The conversation house,
Yes.
I do.
You don't sledding up the Blue Jacket. So you don't
recall bringing up
recall, but you didn't recognize the Blue Jacket was pursued.
I don't Blue Jacket. Jacket is in that interview. To my knowledge.
Do you recall Buster's response in that interview to being asked if that could be Randolph's jacket, to him saying, no, it wasn't?
Objection, hearsay, what Buster said. He's asking to recall what Buster said.
Agreed with what Buster said right afterwards.
What I'm telling you, I don't recall any discussion of Jacket in that interview. I don't recall that. I don't. But you ask me that, I'm just telling you, I don't know any discussions about a jacket in that interview.
Okay. All right. Testified about driving up to rehab, I think Monday after Labor Day, detox, correct? With
It
your
was
brother.
detox. That's
And your brother kind of woke up starting as if from a dream. Is that testified to?
no.
Okay.
When I was driving, well, Randy and I were driving him from detox to the rehab facility down, and that was down in Orlando, Florida.
All right. And you said, and again, I want to make it as clear as we can, you said that he was waking up in response to a dream about the night of June 7th. Is that, understand that correctly?
That's what it appeared to me, and that's, of course, I can't tell you, but that's certainly what it appeared to me.
So you're not saying that because he said that?
He didn't wake up and say that. It's just it was just such a startling, just the way he woke up out of his sleep. It was so startling. It was fear. It took him several seconds to realize that whatever he just saw was not real. He was not living it.
Testified about the day of June 7th and taking your dad to the hospital, him getting admitted, correct?
I did.
And that you and your brother Randy were sending out multiple group texts, is that correct?
I sent a text. I believe he did as well.
And
Phone calls. I know on the phone as well.
if I heard your testimony correctly, that June 7th is actually kind of a day. Is that what the doctors were saying?
Yes, based on the piece of certain doctors at that point, on hospital
Now, at least with this information, is your family member? And do you recall your brother, Alex, about specific?
I saw the show in it, and yes, I believe it was my family, and it was just actually.
So, at least on and there's a little bit of hope about it.
Sure.
So, hey, Messenger, the day that
That would be yeah, I heard is- it's terminal. Or whatever you're
are you
saying.
based off of Alex's testimony?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Janine
So,
Seconder,
well, I can take this. Somebody said that day that it was terminal. People was wrong. Both.
so Janine Seconder was told.
Any second said that she was wrong.
Well, were you present for your Janine Seconder on June 7th?
I wasn't.
One last thing, Mr. Murdaugh. Would you say that the Murdaugh name and legacy is something that's important to you and your brothers?
Yes, I think anybody's name and legacy is important to them. Do I think my family's name is more important than any of y'all's? No,
Okay. But it's important to your brother as well, correct?
I think he would feel the exact same way as what I just said, that all families are important.
Okay.
That is the defense case. And we will excuse you for this day and have you come back at 9:30 tomorrow morning. Have a good If everyone will be seated. The defense is rested. Any matters of law at this time?
Defense renew our motion for directed verdict on the grounds previously argued at the close of the state. That's all.
Mr. Waters.
Your Honor, again, we would our argument previously made that the motion should be denied to answer any specific issues Your Honor may have, but I would rely on our previous arguments.
All right, the motion denied based on all the reasons stated at the close of the state's case. Now, with regard to reply, what do you have, Mr. Waters?
Yes, sir. We have this is maybe 5 at this time that we could accomplish that in a day. Obviously, as is the nature of reply, we will assess that tonight. But right now, 4 definite witnesses and perhaps a 5th that, as it stands right now, that we would have. I think many of them, except for 1, would be very lengthy.
Any, Mr. Harlan or Mr.
Your Honor, I no way critical of Mr. White. His estimate of time has been a little mushy, I think, to put it. I'm not criticizing. I'm saying this was going to be a 3-week trial, and now it's a 6-week trial. I'm just a little skeptical that we'll get it all done tomorrow. Just saying, I'm happy. I'll be ecstatic, but for planning purposes, perhaps maybe midday Wednesday would be a better. Pardon me. Oh, and somewhere in this process, Your Honor indicated you'd allow to visit the site. So,
Why?
so I watching.
Mr. Waters, are these witnesses who you anticipate will contradict issues presented by the defense or the credibility of matters raised by the defense?
They will be focused on issues that were raised during the defense case, yes, sir.
9:30 tomorrow morning. Have a good evening.